look at the rubric, look at your neighbor's cartoon, comic strip, and see if they would, using your rubric, see how they will do.
Share your cartoon and rubrics.
That's how the water.
Exceptional artwork and creativity. Create and relative. Okay, mine would be 1. Where did visual stick figures? Oh, I should have. Oh, I should have. Whatever. I failed.
Let me see.
I can't have my students do a project that I fail myself.
Why are your drawings all the same?
There's something about that whole, if I can't do it, I'm not going to make you. The only reason I do that in the hair is because since I want to tell you so, and I'd have to draw one, and that's how they would draw their drawings, with the hair like that. And the eyes. So my kids make fun of me, but they go, and you're drawing little Asian men on the right. That's all I draw.
I have to be able to get through that. Okay, do you see how you could use this activity in your class? Yes. Do you see that let me have your attention. Do you see that activity? Now, obviously, you have a little bit more on the ball than some of your students because you know these concepts. You can grab a concept, you can do it. You don't have to look up answers. But I gave you 7 minutes. Okay? And you did the concept and you started grading each other's already. Okay? So it doesn't have to take an inordinate amount of time to allow them to do this. It's an assessment tool, folks. They're telling you whether they understand a concept or not. Okay? It doesn't have to be a worksheet. Let them do something, you know? That you have those learners that this is their bailiwick. We don't always give them the opportunity to shine. But like I said, it's a great idea, especially before open house. Throw them up on the wall. Yes?
I don't know what a bailiwick is.
Oh, no, you don't know what a bailiwick is?
No.
Sorry.
There's a dictionary word.
What is it? Does anyone have a definition of bailiwick?
Never heard of
It's
it.
their hood.
Is it what?
It's their hood.
It's their realm. They know. It's what they're good at. Yes.
Oh, okay. So what does that really come from, though? I mean, is that a territory or is that
What is it?
I will give you the definition. Yes, please. Okay, she's going to look it up.
One's sphere of operations or particular area of interest.
I think it's doodle.
That would be their power.
That's where they shine. That's
Yeah.
I was just wondering if there was an eyebrow hanging from it.
Kind of, does it say something? I grew up with that.
I grew up with it.
Yeah, that's Irish.
Make it no fun.
Yeah, make it up fun, so I tell them to put math into it.
Focus drawing
Good question, though. Good question. Excellent question. Sometimes, and really, when you need to let the students know that if you say something, you use a word that they don't understand, that they should be free to ask that question and don't look down on them for not knowing. Okay? Now, I didn't say, well, where are you from anyway? I just know you. She said, I'm from East Texas, I don't know anything. But because I grew up with that term, I use it, you know, because you grow up with it, you use it.
Just curious about the origin.
She's looking it up.
It says that it's from 1425 to 1475, late Middle English.
We look good for our age. We've got good face cream.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I just wanted to share, I do a lot of that, like, I'm not touching the comic strips, and I have them write books and stuff. But with the comic strips, you might already do this, but I just wanted to share it. I use it for the first week of school when we do safety. We'll go over rules, and then I'll tell them to do, they have to pick at least 5 rules. I'll give them a set. For different classes, it will be a different number, like maybe 4 rules, and maybe another class could be, have to include 8, or just, modify.
Excellent. And when I was on the internet looking, safety was a big one on the comic strips.
And so I make them do, like, they have to break the rules, like in the top half of the frames, and then they have to fix or do the rules correctly in the bottom, so they're getting both.
These are no-nos, these are.
Yes, and then by the end, I've seen their words, I've seen them, if they get it,
Excellent, excellent use of that. Anyone else have another idea of using that, especially early on?
And then it's before, because it's before open house.
Before open house. And not only that, but this is not an intimidating activity. It's not something that they're scared to do. And especially if you say, stick figures are okay.
Those visual learners that we have, especially when it comes to math, my little comic strips, I went back to first grade to some more. Because that's what we do a lot in first grade, the simple additions, and they have to draw the picture, write it numerically, and as best as they can, put it in a sentence. But we do that on paper, but maybe taking it one step farther and putting it in a scene would make it more relative than this blocks.
Good.
I was thinking if we used it with the Post-it notes, we could rearrange them, and maybe for differentiating, getting some of the lower level kids to rearrange it back in the right order versus.
For sequencing,
sequencing.
That'd be a good idea. Good idea, especially for those kids that they're not really good at doing it, but they might be able to get it in the right way.
Or ESLs.
Especially with the pictures, that allows them to see that. It's a great idea for your ESL learners.
Even without
See it.
making it a group activity, what you do at your table, and then you have something in a sequence, then as you go around the room, then you have the different tables switch, and then they put it in their sequence,
Whenever I was doing media, I would do storyboards, basically the same thing. And I would take it from kids, and they had an envelope, and after we finished it, they would cut it. I would give them a master of a story, and I would cut it into different squares and put it in an envelope, and they would have to rearrange it, then write, what is going on and everything in this story. So there's a lot of unlimited things you can do, and like we were talking about, maybe after, your kids, the kid who's the artist, who would rather draw than anything. Go up to him and say, you are just great. And would you mind doing me a comic strip or a cartoon on such and such concept? And could I run it off on the next worksheet at the bottom of the page? Would you do that for me? And, that's bringing in, let's hook those kids in however we can. And I guarantee you that kid's going to do that worksheet, And be sure and put your name on it. This cartoon is by. And then someone else is going to come out and say, well, I draw as good as him. Well, yeah, all right, take this next one. And it's great. You've got to bring them in. It's a teachable moment, and you've got to grasp it anytime you can. Or say, do you mind just doing it? Let's put it up on the wall. Start a cartoon wall. Something like that the kids will look at and read. And that's still writing. It's not your typical writing, but it's writing and you're making an impact with those kids. And they're gonna know that concept.
Okay, one of the things that's very, very important, and this is in writing as well as anything that you do in the classroom, especially when they're doing C work, is making sure that you're positive while they're doing it. When they're writing is not the time to sit. You know, you need to circulate, make sure that they're on task, doing what they're supposed to be doing. So, make sure that the first few assignments are fun, easy to do, easy to accomplish. They feel confident in doing it. Then the more you ask, the more they're willing to give.
And then have valid assignments. Don't just make up something because you've got to rhyme. Those kids are smart. They're no dummies. You know, it's the worst thing. Sit down and just write what you learned today. Where's the validity in that? Why should I put any effort into it? If you can't give me a valid assignment, then why should I do anything? You've got to do your job first. Then the kids can do theirs. If you do a sloppy job, they're going to do a sloppy job. So,
It's not funny.
yeah. Okay. Explain the assignment. Don't hand out the assignment, just read the direction. Take a minute to explain, discuss the assignment. Make sure the students understand why you are asking them to write. After explaining, are there any questions? Always, are there any questions? Some of the shy kids aren't going to ask a question. But as you walk around that classroom, you're going to see someone who's just holding that pen or pencil. And then so you can go up to him and say, hey, you need some help? You know, I've got a great idea. No one's doing it. Let me share it with you. You know, something like that just to help them. But don't just be one of the teachers that, here, we need to write this. Hurry. We've got 5 minutes left in class. Read this piece of paper and write down an answer real quick. And then go sit down behind your desk. Deanne and I were never at our desk. Whenever kids would come in or a principal would come, they couldn't find us because we were either sitting in a kid's desk at the back of the room or wandering around. I mean, I kept them on their toes. They never knew where I was, you know. And I never stayed behind my desk or podium. I was out there with them so I could get the vibe of how they're doing.
If you're going to give them an assignment, either make sure it's left up here, given it on a piece of paper. Some of them need to go back and reread it over and over. Never just give it to them orally. It's not fair to those visual learners. Okay? It's not fair to me. I'm just old. I forget. By the time you give me the assignment and then explain it, I never remember, now what was the original thing that she said that I have to do? You know, and how many, and what is, I need it. Okay, so always have it available to them. And when possible, include the rubric when you make the assignment. That way they know exactly what they have to do.
And go over the rubric with them. Yeah. Okay, here's the assignment. Now look, this is how I'm going to grade it. Look at this rubric.
Now, oftentimes I do not give them a rubric like I gave you. I will put it up. If it's a class assignment, I'll just put it up on the board and we go over it. Because my students would lose it before I got it back. You know, I give it to them and say, okay, you have to turn the rubric in with your assignment so I can write. Okay. So I took that out of their hands and did it this way. But that way, at least you've gone over it.
Avoid being dull. Provide students with the opportunities to write in pairs or small groups. Change things. Give the assignment, then allow a couple of minutes for students to turn to their neighbor in a small group to discuss the assignment and what they might write.
You know, brainstorming comes in different fashions, folks. You know, you can brainstorm in all different ways, but one of those things is talking it out. Denise and I were talking just a few minutes ago about how you can't be creative in a vacuum. You need something to bounce off of. So sometimes just talking to your neighbor for just a few minutes, say, okay, you can discuss this for 3 minutes.
And, you know, imagine yourself in a student's position. You're in school 8 hours a day, and you're gonna sit in 8 classes. Don't talk. Don't talk. You know, you're getting nowhere. Let's pair share. You know, link to your neighbor to your right. What do you think you're gonna write about? You've got 3 minutes to discuss it. Stop. Next person, you talk and tell them what you think. Give them that opportunity.
What about those poor kids in elementary school that can't talk during lunch because there's a class going on on the stage in those cafeterias? Have you ever seen that? That's crazy. Have you
So,
ever had lunch that you couldn't talk to your neighbor?
I require my student teachers to be a student for a day, and they come back with the same conclusion every year, every semester. School is boring.
It is, and it shouldn't be.
That's right, it shouldn't be, and I tell them your science class should be the best class of their day. I have a question for you about some research. Do you know if there's any difference in the way people write amount, quality, whatever factor, criteria, if they stand up versus sitting?
I don't know that there is research on that. I mean, we can certainly find out. I personally cannot think, create, think in logically and do it. When I had the students, you know, I'd be writing on the board and they'd think, yes, right, really? And I'd skip words. I mean, my head would go faster than I go, okay, you know, we'd go back and, because I just don't.
But I
work
think
that.
writing on the board is very different than, you know, writing on paper like that.
Yeah, but that's my experience of writing standing up. It was not a good one.
I think that's universal. I think all of us have that problem as teachers.
I don't know about if I just stood here and wrote this way. I don't know. I probably could do it. I mean, I don't know that I would be better at it. But it's an
But you might be
interesting
different.
concept. It could be a different concept. I mean, something that's different, because you're doing something different with your body. It's interesting. Yes.
Having experience with the talking thing, because invariably you've got those kids that either A, refuse or don't, you know, well, I don't know what to say. You have to really be very, at the beginning of the year, really set that expectation and set the, kind of really model it, be very, I can't think of the word right now off the top of my head, I don't know what it is, but you have to be, do what? Thank you, very explicit in, this is how we talk, this is what we talk about, because, you know, if you just kind of try to free-for-all it, it doesn't work.
and that's why you're walking around and saying, I don't think homecoming's in with, science.
Because a lot of times they're talking about homecoming.
You know, or something, yeah. You know, I don't think that's part of the assignment, you know. And you do, and you can walk up and down those aisles pretty fast.
And sometimes just saying, really, that's your concept, how are you gonna start? If they can verbalize it, they'll tell you, although they couldn't think of it to put it down, and then you go, sounds like a great beginning. And they'll say, oh, okay. And once you get them started, they can move, and they can get through the process, so it's not a problem. Provide plenty of time. Yes, ma'am.
Is there, tell me about a possibility of kids using like rapid dictation or something like that, especially if they have any kind of dyslexia or dysgraphia or anything like that. Is there, I don't know, in the writing process, is that something that you can use one of those apps
Okay,
and
can I-
then edit it, or?
I'm going to tell you my ignorance.
Okay.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sure there are. My daughter is a severe dyslexic, and she, I mean, it was like, you know, that's it, you do it. Do it, do it, do it. And so she did it. Okay. So Virginia had to teach her, but, you know, it's okay.
Number 8.
That's the one that the devil dropped off. But
I
it's
get
okay. I didn't get rid of Virginia. So there was nothing out there. She's 30 years old now, so there you go. But at the time, there was nothing out there. I don't know those things, so I can't tell you. I wouldn't be opposed to them using anything if that's a tool that would be better for them. But I don't know. I don't know.
I'll just.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
know in our district, we have to really be careful what we ask for, because once it becomes part of their 504,
That's
we've got to,
You've got to
and
provide.
you've got to provide it. It's the law, and
But I think what she's asking is if they have it,
Hmm.
can they use it? Right, is it?
Right, and, right, because there are some kids, it'll take them 60 minutes to get 3 sentences, and it's not because they don't have it here, it's because they can't get it from here to here, so if they can speak it, then.
I know that many times, and Virginia will back me up on that, many times April, my daughter, would have to verbally, you know, say, this is, yes, I know this, blah, 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 blah. If time was running out, she would do the best she could, but then, you know, she's got half a test. It's like, and so by the time she deciphered the question and then tried to write the answer, you know, that's 10 minutes when it was taking everybody else 1. So, you know, Virginia would say, you know, they go back and say, okay, tell me this, tell me this, tell me this. Okay. You know it or you don't know it, that kind of thing. So those kinds of things happen, yes.
Okay, another question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna ask Brenna this, actually. Brenna was over here making pretzels out of the ruler, and I asked her if she would please iron the ruler out so it actually would lay flat like a ruler. And then her legs started bouncing, and so I'm connecting this with writing. Because I have a granddaughter that's like that. She's ADHD.
There you go.
She's very much that way. But anyway, so I understand. She lived with me for 3 years. Okay. Is there any research that says people who are like that, can they concentrate better if they might have this squeezy thing? Or, wait a minute, I'm not finished. Donna has this wonderful, where's
Yeah, I have
your
my
little
little
whoopee
squishy ball, I
cushion?
didn't bring it today.
Yeah, we need for you to bring that.
I will.